as Pramila Jayapal explained on a call recently, Seattle was one of the first earliest states to implement this policy, and it was subsequently named as the best city for employers, best wages, one of the cities with the least amount of job loss in the course of the pandemic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look back to the same argument we were having in 2009, which I'll remind everybody is the last time we had a minimum wage raise, the exact same arguments were trotted out then. If people are really concerned about job growth over the next few years, what they should pay attention to is policies like Bernie Sanders' Green New Deal, which was designed to provide 20 million new jobs, or even Biden's more modest clean energy plan is designed to provide 10 million new jobs. So this isn't an either-or situation. This is a real kind of basic need that needs to be delivered to people who are, in fact, our frontline workers and who need it more than ever in the middle of this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, we've run some natural experiments on this policy at this point. You point to Seattle. I remember when that was first passed, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be disaster. Businesses are going to flee Seattle, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, the sky didn't fall. Now you just have workers who can actually come closer to surviving in that city. And that was quite a while ago that they passed that. So the cost of living has continued to go up to where it is appropriate to have that level across the country.
But again, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that there is not a state in America where a worker working a full-time minimum wage salary can afford a one-bedroom apartment, one bedroom in their own state. And the average minimum wage worker, despite the fact that some conservatives love to talk about how these are jobs for high schoolers and shouldn't be supporting families, well, the average minimum wage worker, like it or not, is a 35-year-old woman whose income provides about half of their family's household income. So these are salaries that are absolutely needed, not some throwaway teenager salary. And the idea that all Democrats and frankly all Republicans wouldn't be full-throatedly behind a policy like this in the middle of a global pandemic and economic crisis really shocks the conscience.
Will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty.
A mama and a baby?
No. And that is why I
And some of you say baby mama?
I worked at McDonald's.
Watch this.
I did the French fries and I did the ice cream. But the reality
Two things at
of
McDonald's
is that a majority of the folks who are working there today are relying on that income to sustain a household and a family.
I worked at McDonald's, as I put on the black voice right now, but it's convenient. I did the ice cream. I banged the shift manager.
Yeah, it was 1958. I was listening to Big Pun, smoking some rock.
Oh my gosh! They try to tug at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
AOC said $2.13 an hour. Guess what? By law, if you don't make enough tips to get you to the minimum wage, they have to bump your pay up. AOC,
Right. I know, and
you lying hag.
And they never have to do it because people make significantly more than a minimum wage. And we're going to get into the numbers here, but here's the thing. This is something they try and sell you, and I want to tell you something. It is the exact opposite of the truth. Let me give you a summary really quickly. And you guys can tell me, people out there who are watching, if you're small business owners, what it would do to your business. They want you to think that a $15 minimum wage is something that these giant businesses can afford and they're the only ones who oppose it. No, look. $15 minimum wage would crush, absolutely destroy small businesses. The only people who actually support it are the wealthy billionaires who earned over $1 trillion in net worth and earnings in this pandemic. Well, I'll get into that in more detail. But this is their talking point. Here is AOC saying we need a $15 minimum wage because people like Jeff Bezos, otherwise, the rich friends will keep all the money to themselves.
Do you think that's why he's a billionaire? Because he pays his workers starvation wages? And
I think it's certainly a part of the equation when you have a very large workforce and you underpay every single person.
Here's the thing. The $15 minimum wage is almost exclusively, and this is like you see with Amazon, supported by the biggest companies in the world. Yeah. You look at the most powerful companies, right? These super corporations. Why? Because it's a way to put smaller companies out of business. It's a perfect example. This is just how government screws things up. You know, rent forgiveness. I don't know if you saw this in Georgia. Rent forgiveness. Well, what does that mean? Well, you just don't pay rent. Really? Yeah. It just means that you don't want to pay rent. Don't pay rent. Well, guess what you can't find right now in Georgia? You can no longer find cheap housing because people who own these leasing apartments, they won't lease them out because it's one thing to have, burning a hole in your pocket if you keep it empty, this apartment. It's another thing to have an inferno in your pocket because people are using the utilities and damaging your property. Those are the unintended consequences.